Hey everyone, it's Allison, starting another video. I'm still working on Strength Within, but as you can see, I've done a ton of work on the face. I know a lot of people say that they don't have the patience for all the detail or like how much time it takes, but I just find it really relaxing. And since we had a bunch of days off the last few days since it was Thanksgiving, and I was able to just not do anything for a while and just kind of turn my brain off, stippling is the best thing to do for that. So I just took my sketchbook with me everywhere and made like 4 million dots. So I'm gonna continue working on that today and see if I can finish the torso in this video. So I know I talk a lot about stippling on this channel because I do so much of it. Previously, in a lot of my other works, I mostly use stippling for the hair texture, but over the last few drawings that I've done, I've been incorporating it more as a technique to fill negative space on the skin and just make shading on the skin in general. And then I kind of moved from only using it as a shading technique to just using it all over to create the texture of skin. And I'm really liking the way that it looks because it kind of creates, in a way that I didn't expect, a really smooth look on the face and on the skin, and it also is just lends itself really nicely to shadow moving across the skin, and it kind of gives like a skin like a pore texture. So I'm really enjoying that, and it's also just really nice to do. It takes up a lot of time, and I can just let my brain kind of relax while I work on it. And the more I do it, the better I get at it. The way the light hits your skin in all these different areas that it's harder to show with just negative space. Like where I was only using shading, now I can kind of create that texture even in areas that are completely lit up. Like for example, I really like the way the texture that's created like here by the eye, where there's kind of the dimple where the cheek starts and under where you kind of get dark circles under your eyes, or at least I do. I've talked about that before. Or here where the eyelid kind of folds, or here where the nose starts to meet the cheek. Like I couldn't do that as well with just negative space. Well, with stipples, I'm able to do it a lot more successfully, and when I take a step back from it, I can see those textures and that lighting a lot more. And I like that a lot. That was something I felt like I was missing in some of my older work that I'm glad that I've kind of found a way to address. So just for comparison's sake, this is an older work of mine that is just negative space, and I've only done lines where the shadows would be, and it still works. And I still really like the way that it looks. But I like the way the stipples work a little better just because they can show so much more texture and so much more of the way light interacts with the skin. So since the face was done, I kind of thought the face would be the most challenging to stipple because there's so much to work around with the eyes and the nose and the dimple. Like there's so many different areas that have to kind of stretch and come together. There's dimples, like there's a lot of motion in a way. There's a lot of different curves that the light angles against. But it was actually really easy because there's so much reference material for the way light hits a face. So I could keep looking back at my reference photos and see like where should be darker and where shouldn't. Where it's actually, I think, going to be more difficult is the neck and the like bust area, because the light is just kind of, there's not as much that it's working with. It's just kind of almost like a very blank area, other than the neck where it meets the collarbone, and then a little bit of divot in the middle of the chest where the sternum is. It's just a lot of open surface area. There's not as much to work with or to play around. Like the face has so many features, whereas like the collarbone and shoulders, there's really not too much going on. There's not as many curves. So I think it's actually going to be challenging to make this look as three-dimensional and as vivid as the face does. So we'll see what happens. What I'm trying to do to make sure that it doesn't fall flat is just work really slowly and take my time and make sure that I'm not forgetting where the light is coming from so that the shadows don't look too random. And I'm going to kind of accentuate highlights on the shoulders so that there can be some roundness there, and then really play up like that divot in the middle where the sternum is and where like the pectoral and the boobs are, so that it won't so that it won't just look like a flat nothingness that goes up into the face, because the face looks so good and I don't want it to just look like this awesome rounded well shaded face on top of a nothing body. So you remember in the last drawing I was working on, Refusing to Fade, I had so much trouble deciding what the shirt would look like and what the cut would be and what the pattern on it would be. And for this one I decided to just completely throw that out of the equation. My reference photo didn't have any clothing in it, and I just feel like for something like this it works better without it. And the viewer can kind of choose, since there's no actual nudity, since it cuts off like right after the shoulder. Like, someone can decide whether they want to picture this as like a nude or not, but I mean, I really don't think it is. I just usually prefer to leave clothes out whenever I can so that the focus can be more on the face and more on the expression and more on the person, unless the style is part of that drawing. I definitely do a lot of drawings that incorporate the fashion as part of that subject's personality, but with this one, this series in general, I'm thinking so much more about I'm thinking so much more about expression and about thought and about inner strength, and those things aren't really synonymous with fashion or style in any way. Like, at least with this series, I'm thinking so much more about the mental aspect of it, and I'm trying not to peg it down to anything that's actually physical. And I want them to feel a little bit more timeless, I guess. Whereas, like in past drawings where I'm bringing, or in like the most recent one I did where she's wearing that really long dress, like the dress is so much part of what that drawing is about. Like, it takes up so much more surface area than the actual person's face. Like, that was really me wanting to dive into not just fashion decisions that are being made and like the intricacies of getting dressed and like what it feels like to feel beautiful, but also to showcase and challenge myself to do a really delicate design on such a large scale. So this is so different, like this series is so different from that, because it's not about what a person looks like so much as what a person feels like. And so for me, what a person is wearing, while that does play a huge part into like especially how I feel day to day, like I love getting dressed, it's my favorite part of the day, but since this project is focused so much more on inner strength and like universal feelings of drawing on your own strength when people are working against you, and how it feels when you have to believe in yourself, I just feel like those kind of feelings exist outside of clothing. Or I prefer, you know, like with this series, I want it to feel that way. I just want to leave clothes out entirely. And I also, besides all that, besides the symbolism, I just really like drawing like the trap muscles, shoulders, and collarbones. And most shirts cover those up. And the ones that don't, it's just like, you know, low cut, or it's a swoop neck, or it's a spaghetti strap, and I don't see the point in drawing like a little strap on the shoulder. I just feel like at that point it becomes way more distracting than just not having anything at all. So those are my two reasons. One symbolic and one just because I don't want to, and I can do what I want. Okay, so that's where I'm going to stop for today. Lots of stippling, but I still have some more to do. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys found this video interesting. I hope you enjoyed the more stippling conversation. It seems like there's a lot on this channel, but I do a lot of stippling, so what are you gonna do? But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you later.